CJ McCollum is the most important piece to this Pelicans team in terms of if they want to reach the expectations or their full ceiling of winning an NBA championship. I think CJ is the most important piece. Is that fact or is that cap? Really, really, really think about it. Really think about it.
It's tough. It's really tough. I still think it's Zion. I'm going to say cap.
Facts.
Yeah, I'm going to say cap. I do believe CJ's impact is a lot more underrated than people give it credit for maybe. And, I think maybe they've forgotten how good CJ McCollum can be come playoff time as a player in general in this league because, there's no secret he's had his injury troubles as well past couple of seasons ever since he's been traded out to Pelicans land. But in terms of we know what to expect with Zion. Like you look at yesterday's game as an example, 11 from 11 from the field, that high efficiency when he's a freight train coming into the lane, no one's stopping him, and it just collapses the defense. And then having guys that can hit 3-point shots as well, and then the return of Trey Murphy, the third as well. That's so important as well. I think he's arguably one of their more important role players, and you throw in the likes of Herb Jones to complement the defensive side of the ball, kind of anchor that defense, and you got the veteran presence. Jordan Hawkins, shout out. I was going to mention him. I think he's been an absolute steal in the draft. Knows his role the right way. He catch and shoot. He can impact the game on the score sheet without having to take a lot of dribbles, have to, have the ball for 20 seconds of the possession. It's in and out of his hands within a split second, but, it's the same amount of points on the stat sheet at the end of the day. And I think he just locks in on the defensive side of the ball, and his athleticism is underrated. But what they've got going together in that rotation, return of Jose Alvarado, the pest, we know how
they're legitimately a championship contender.
They are. But it's always a question mark of one player on that team being unhealthy. It could be Zion, it could be BI, it could be CJ, it could be Trey Murphy, and Herb. Any of those guys go down, and immediately it just takes away from the flow, the chemistry that team has got going. Because Trey Murphy's so important as a spark plug off the bench in terms of his offense. He can start at times, and then you lose a guy like Zion. You've lost that defensive mismatch that teams have to scout heavily. And then BI with his versatility, if he's not playing, it just makes that 4 spot that he plays from a lot more easy to guard because you don't have it's more of a predictable skill set for the guy that's probably going to fill in the void there. So I think it's cap only because any of those guys go down, it's almost see you later to the Pelicans championship contention. But I think as long as, obviously in my eyes, I still believe it's Zion. But I think if any of those guys go down, it's going to be,
They're all as important as they are to each other.
Yeah, correct.
CJ goes down, BI, Zion. Yeah, I get you.
But I'm going to say cap just because I still think it's Zion because we haven't seen enough of him, and it showed how much it impacted. They were the first seed before his injury. He goes down. They have a complete capitulation. And I think there's no secret that Zion being out of that lineup just completely changes the dynamic. So I'm going to say cap just because, in my opinion, it's Zion. But moving on. I was about to get comfortable there, but moving on to the next one, and that's the Pacers should look at exploring trade options for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Is that fact or cap?
I just don't know what's out there for them to get with those guys. I don't think you go on the route. See, to me, the guys who are available right now, obviously Zach LaVine's the obvious one because that's of recent. Pascal Siakam, I would say. I would say Kyle Kuzma, his value, I think, is at an all-time high, so I think he would be up there. Bogdanovic, obviously. No, that's 4 guys. I don't know. Depends what the Pacers are really looking for, I guess. If they can get a higher caliber dude, or a guy like Pascal Siakam, I don't know if you do both, but obviously I think Miles Turner, that's almost more of an enticing piece than Pascal to me, just because of his versatility, his height, what he brings to the table. Buddy Hield is an interesting one. To me, it really comes down to whether Buddy Hield wants to remain a Pacer or he doesn't. I think if he does, you got to keep that guy around, man, because off the bench, he's just so valuable. Yes, he has his nights where he shoots inefficiently and he doesn't really...
Tonight.
Yeah,
Exhibit A, I should say.
but he has games where he legitimately takes over in the clutch and he wins games. So it's like, what the worst with Buddy, you get the best with Buddy, and I think the best outweighs the bad. And I think, yeah, I don't think you're getting anything more than Buddy Hield's value for him, unless there's a random name that just goes out there like heck Jaylen Brown or something crazy. I think you make the move, but if not, I think you just keep this team around. And I think Miles wants to be there. That's why he re-signed. I think Buddy, I don't really know the intimacies of it, but if they're all happy in Indiana, and Tyrese is thriving and Benedict's thriving and Obi, the whole squad, Miles, I think he's having a career year. I think you just keep that core and I think you just push towards the playoffs or as far as you possibly can. I think that probably is the playoffs or first, second round. So I'm going to say Cap.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trade both of them, but I feel like you got to do something because Hallie needs help. Like, he can get it done on any given night, but like sometimes you don't want him taking 27 shots a night, even though he's got that ability to drop 44 like he did tonight or drop 50 on any given night. I think takes away from his real strong suit of a skill set, which is his ability to pass the rock and get his 15, 16 assists along with his 30 plus points. But if he has to get only 10 assists and score 44 points and have to shoot the ball 28 times a night, that's probably, you take that as an opposition as much as, Hallie drops 44 on your head. If the other guys have sort of been shut out of the game or, having quiet nights, it's the next man up mentality. So I feel like, you need another genuine star or like a co-superstar for Hallie.
It just comes down to what's out there.
Yeah, exactly. And whether they'll be able to attract them to Indiana, because we know that a lot of these guys prefer to go to a bigger market, and Indiana obviously is a bit more of a small market team. And at the end of the day, I don't think I'd want to bring in a guy into that organization that's going to provide trouble or, impact the chemistry or impact the vibe that team's got going on. Yeah, they've gone on a little bit of a slump the last couple of games, but they made the Elite Eight in the in-season tournament. There's a reason why, they're in that bracket right now. It's because they've been playing some excellent basketball. So I think it's a bit of an overreaction, but I've seen Pacers fans on Reddit going off and even on Reel today, cracking the shits at Buddy Hield and even Miles Turner saying like, rebound the ball, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how things play out. But moving on to the next one, Marcus, and I'll let you take this one away.
Okay, so the next factor, Cap, Ja Morant comes back. The Grizzlies are a playoff team or play-in team, or you get what I mean. If they make the play-in, they go to the playoffs. Is that fact or Cap, or am I just overreacting about how good Ja Morant really is?
I'm checking the Western Conference standings now. So at the moment, they're 4-13. There's 8 more games of Ja's suspension. So let's say they only win 2 more games, and they're 6-19 come the time when Ja returns. It's an uphill battle. I'm going to say...
He's the GOAT.
I'm going to say Cap. As much as I believe in Ja's ability, it's going to take him maybe 5-10 games to get accustomed with the speed of the NBA game again, get his legs under him. He's not injured, so obviously that's not going to be a massive impact. But obviously when you haven't played for an extended period of time since the playoffs last year, it's not going to come back to you right away. But we know what Ja Morant's capable on an NBA court on any given night. So I still think, they do make a push and maybe they do sneak into the play-in, but I don't think they make the playoffs. But that's going to be all dependent on what their record sits come that 25-game suspension coming to an end. But I'm going to say Cap for now, just because I haven't seen enough positive signs, especially with Steven Adams being out, Brandon Clark being out. Young guys have gotten minutes, which is a positive thing, but I just don't see.
Oh yeah, he's not it.
Yeah, I think that was a miss on that particular draft pick. And as much as I still think, I'm going to give him his chances, I think we've seen enough of Ziaire Williams now to say that he's not up to the standards of being a starter in the NBA. But I'm going to say Cap just because I don't think they started the season off well enough, obviously, and it's just a bit of a hit to the confidence when you're losing that many games and having that many injuries to start the year. Ja's going to rejuvenate him, and I think the one disappointment, Marcus Smart probably hasn't played to the level we expected him of.
Great mentorship though.
Yeah.
The time out, he's like, these fans come here to watch you guys play, and you'll play like ass.
Yeah,
something like that.
No, I get it. Like I love the energy, and I love the fact that he gives everything to any organization he plays in. But it's the end of the day, it's he probably hasn't like lived up to the expectations we expected of him in terms of the production on the court. So Jaren Jackson, another guy, shooting 30% from the field and 23% from three in the last like 3 or 4 games, and just not rebounding the ball to a high level, which he's never really been like great at. But in terms of a guy who's nearly 7 foot tall, you got to, with the amount of athleticism, the long arms, you got to be a better rebounder than that. The bright spot in the team, obviously Desmond Bain, playing at an all-star level. He's not going to make
his struggles recently though.
Yeah, but in terms of like the way he started the season on the whole, like you can't take away those the games that he did play to a really high level. So I think there's still positive signs there, but yeah, even with Ja's return, I think it's cap. I don't think they make the playoffs. But moving on to my next one, this is what JJ Redick brought up in his podcast on Old Man and the Three shout out. Jaime Jaquez, he believes, is the third best rookie or the third most impactful rookie in the league outside of Wemby and Chet. Do you agree, fact or cap, Marcus?
Personally, obviously, yes, Jaquez has been playing some amazing games. He's scoring a lot, but I'm still going Azar Thompson. I still think Azar Thompson is the third best rookie that this class has to offer thus far. I think Jaquez has had his games, obviously, but as has Azar. And obviously, Azar's got to get more hype, but with the hype comes a lot more, slander and expectations on Azar's name. But I think if Azar was in Jaquez's position and was drafted where he was, what pick was Jaquez?
18.
Okay. Yeah, I think, say you put Azar Thompson at pick 18, I think the amount of hype he would be getting would be off the charts, but because he was a top 5 pick, obviously, yeah, they got to look at the fact that he can't really shoot yet. But he's had games where he's scoring like high 20s. He averages like 10 rebounds. He's playmaking well. He's a great shot blocker. He gets steals, and yeah, he might have his scoring struggles, but that's not all to basketball. I think as an overall player, he was in my Rookie of the Year. I think he was my Rookie of the Year pick, so that's how highly I do rate this guy. Jaquez has had his moments, yes. But I don't know, as has Keontae George. So I value those two guys about the same. Yeah, so I don't know who the class. Wemby, Azar, Jaquez, Keontae.
Hawkins.
Yeah, Jordan Hawkins. I think Jordan Hawkins arguably, I sound like a real Jaquez hater. I'm not one. But I think, yeah, Jordan Hawkins, I don't think gets the shine that he deserves, because this guy, the Pelicans literally told him, take 13 threes a night. When you get the ball, shoot the ball. That role is so hard to play in the NBA. Like, not every rookie can just come in to a system and just shoot 13 threes. Like,
I forgot about Brandon Miller as well.
Yeah, Brandon Miller. I don't know. Jaquez is really, really good. I think he might be top 5. I would probably go Wemby. I'd probably go Brandon Miller. I'd probably go Azar Thompson. I would probably go Jordan Hawkins, and then I would probably go Jaquez and then
Chet.
Chet, well,
Chet's not in this draft class. Sorry, that's my fault. That's my fault.
Yeah, if Chet was, I'd probably have him one. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, but in terms of the rookie class, obviously Chet having that red shirt season is part of it. But yeah, in terms of the draft class, I think that's a follow-up question I'm actually going to ask you. Do you think this draft class could be a top 10 draft class of all time if when it's all said and done?
Okay, so this could look really bad in the long run, me saying this, but my prediction for this class, I think Azar Thompson's a defensive player of the year. I think Wemby, if we're looking at the stakes on the trajectory that he will become, a lot of people will probably be thinking the same. He's probably a MVP of this league. He's probably a Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, NBA champion. So obviously that puts that in that upper echelon of draft classes. And then so you got a Defensive Player of the Year, you got an MVP and one of the all-time grades. That already is above a lot of draft classes. All they really need is for a guy like Jaquez, Keontae, John Hawkins to be like a 3-4 time All-Star. Yeah, and then we haven't really seen much of Amen Thompson. And then Brandon Miller, obviously, he's a hell of a talent.
Scoot Henderson.
Scoot, yeah. I haven't given up on Scoot yet. As a half Blazers fan, I think he's slowly showing a little bit more signs. And I don't know if it's hard to judge because I really want to root for Scoot.
Nice rhyming.
Yeah. as a point guard in this league. But yeah, the struggles, like the worst of Scoot hasn't really looked like he's adapted to the NBA level very well, just with the shots that he could take at G League Ignite, translating to the NBA. You're not really going to have the same output with those mid-range jump shots that he did at Ignite, because NBA offenses don't really value that as much as they do in the G League or at a lower level. But yeah, I think Brandon Miller, 5-time All-Star, I would say it could be a top 10, just because you got an all-time great. You got two guys who I think will be multiple or 4 to 5-time All-Stars, and then you got a defensive player of the year. And obviously, if you're a defensive player of the year, you got a couple All-Star selections next to your name. So I think top 10 is reasonable.
As long as it's not as bad as 2000, 2006 with like Adam Morrison and all that. Or
my
2000
days.
with like the best pick was almost Hito Turkoglu, or Kenyon Martin went number 1 in that draft. That was like, it was a shocking draft. So there was a couple there historically that were bad. So as long as it's not as bad as that, I mean, you're already on your way to possibly edging yourself in that conversation. Obviously, 96 is iconic. 2003 is iconic.
97?
97 with Tim Duncan, I think that was a pretty good draft as well. 99, you had Lamar Odom, Jason Terry, Andre Miller, Elton Brand, Steve Francis. Trying to think of the Paul Pierce was 98, sorry. But yeah, there's a lot of, like I said, like that 98 class as well is just really solid. Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Pierce.
2016.
2016, that was Ben Simmons, that was Ingram. Who else was in that? I think it was Julius Randle. Yeah, Julius Randle.
Randle got injured rookie.
Yeah.
Who what? I swear there was D Book. No, that was the next year after.
No, Randle was 2014, sorry.
When was Cat? 2017?
No, Cat was
2017. It was a year after.
Yeah, 2017. No, 2017 was Markel. Cat was 2015 then.
2015. So he was before Simmons and...
No. Yes, he was actually. Yeah. It was 2015.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. It was 2015.
So D'Lo was drafted before.
Yeah. Do you remember that ad? Do you remember that ad that came up with the Foot Locker ad? Remember?
Yeah, with the phone.
Yeah. And he's like, you had a phone, so they were all there before Simmons. Simmons is like,
right. You're right.
Yeah. We had a little bit of a brain fade there. We've been filming for like an hour and a half. I'm normally pretty good with this historical stuff, but it just sort of all came.
Shout out Historic Hoops, baby.
That's it, man. TikTok, 39K, get around it, even though I don't really post on there much now as I used to because of the bench mob taking priority. But, we'll get back on that grind as well once soon enough. I'm reading through a few of these Factor Cap questions here, Marcus, and I think based off time, I reckon we'll cut a few of these out just for the purposes of the video. And I don't know, we might be getting locked into this studio because apparently they shut at 10 p.m. and it's approaching 10 p.m. 1 minute away. So
save them for the next step.
Yeah, hopefully we don't get locked in, but maybe we'll leave it on one more. And I think the one we'll leave it on is Terry Rozier, because I did mention we wanted to talk about this.
Terry Rozier at the Charlotte Hornets, obviously he got there, he had his tenure. I feel like he had that year where he almost pushed them into the playoffs. I think they had 44 wins that year. That might have been LaMelo Ball's rookie year or the year before that. But overall, I think championship teams could really value him. Like you have a team in your mind as well. I'll name a couple too. To push for a further championship. Obviously his two-way ability, he's scrappy on the defensive end, and what he's known for is being, a volume scorer.
Guy who comes up in the clutch on numerous occasions, who's obviously today just showed with LaMelo Ball's absence, 37 points, 13 assists. His playmaking is underrated as well. But I feel like he's just had a bad rep in terms of his career. I think a lot of the times people see Terry Rozier, they see the tattoos, they see, that vibe that he does give off or possess. So the fact that, also playing on the Hornets, a lot of people can consider what he does as empty stats. But all in all, I think he's still got a lot to give to to a championship contending team, like I mentioned. And one of the teams I'm going to touch on here is the Denver Nuggets. Although they have a guy similar mold in Reggie Jackson, I think if you add a guy like that, somehow manage to acquire him in a trade, I don't know what you give up. I don't know how he fits in, but I think him as a off the bench kind of player, providing that spark, providing that energy, and that clutch shooting ability, that scoring prowess that we know he's capable of, will just be a really good replacement for a guy like Bruce Brown, who obviously they lost in the free agency period. And although they're not the same kind of player, I think you almost need it at times with Jamal Murray's uncertainty with how his injury is going to progress and whether he's, manages to stay durable. So I think, the Denver Nuggets is a really good option for him. And I don't know, maybe even the Los Angeles Lakers, it could be a shout there, I don't like to say that because I think any player that ends up going to the Lakers always ends up having a down year. I think we don't see the best version of them when they're playing alongside Bron and AD. But yeah, that could be an option. That's something that was talked about for a couple of years prior in the last few seasons. But that's a couple of my teams that I think he could end up being traded to. But the Nuggets one's probably a bit of a stretch just because they do have Reggie Jackson already. But I'll let you round it out now with who you believe Terry Rozier could land on in terms of team going forward.
Obviously, Miami Heat missed out on Damian Lillard. Previously, they were interested in Russell Westbrook, interested in Chris Paul, a bunch of point guards they were interested in, Brad Beal. So I think Terry Rozier is probably the next guy who fits that mold, what they would want. And with that, his defensive ability, he has that where those guys almost don't. So I think the Heat would be interested. I don't know if they would get him, but I think they would pursue him so heavily. Besides that, I think a team like the Hawks maybe, they could use a second scoring co-star. I don't think DeJounte and Trey will take you any further. I'm not saying you give up DeJounte, although if you did, that would be kind of interesting to see DeJounte and LaMelo Ball with Brandon Miller, big guards, run amok in Charlotte. That would be pretty cool. I think, I don't really know who else. I mean, I know a lot of teams could value Terry. I think the Lakers obviously are going to be calling the phone because they do to everybody, and I think he fits the mold of what LeBron loves, and they pursued him this offseason, so why wouldn't they pursue him right now? The Wolves are another one. I think that could only add to, their playoff push, obviously, and their contention towards a potential championship. Being a fourth seed, he almost establishes them as, a potential front runner to go to the Western Conference Finals. But yeah, like you said before, the Indiana Pacers are they almost should be looking for a co-star with Hallie. And I think, Terry's a guy who can play on the ball really well, but he can also catch and shoot, hit threes really well. So Pacers could. I don't know if he would come off the bench with Mathurin there, being a young star, but that could be an awesome fit too.
But I think we've summed it up pretty perfectly. It's a tough one. I don't think Terry goes anywhere this year just based off how important he is, and with LaMelo Ball's uncertainty with his ankle and, the overall health concerns that we have seen out of LaMelo Ball the past season and a bit. But in terms of, what he's shown and night in, night out and season after season just being a really important player, I think, Terry Rozier could be well on his way to joining a championship contender. But it's only a matter of time. But pretty much going to wrap it up here right now, guys.